Hey everyone, it's triplemangothreat. Today I'm talking about the must-have cards in your EDH collection and why you need them. Jumping right into it, we have the Mana Rocks with Everflowing Chalice. For 0 mana, it's an artifact with multi-kicker 2, which means you can pay 2 any amount of times, and when Everflowing Chalice enters the battlefield, you're going to get a charge counter for each time it was kicked. We can tap it, get 1 colorless mana for each charge counter on Everflowing Chalice. What's great about this card is it can go in any deck because it's colorless mana, and at any time, we can get mana out of it because if we just want to cast the spell, it's a 0-cost mana spell, which is great. And if we happen to have 2 mana, now it will tap for 1 mana, and so on and so on. So at any point in the game, we can cast this and it's going to be really worth it. Of course, this is going to excel in an artifact deck, especially when we can cast it for that 0 cost, so this will work really well in an Urza deck. But like I said, this can go in any deck at any point in the game. Moving on, we have Hedron Archive for 4 mana. We can tap it for 2 colorless, or we can pay 2, tap it to sack it, and draw 2 cards. Paying 4 to get 2 doesn't seem as good when we have cards like Sol Ring, but why this is really good is because it's going to ramp us. And if we don't need it later on in the game, we can always get 2 cards out of it when we really need that card draw. So this is a very versatile mana rock, which is really helpful, and 4 mana may seem like a lot, but getting that 2 mana can also let us cast another mana rock if we really needed to. Again, this is also colorless, so this can go in any deck, which is really nice. Next is Thought Vessel, which recently got another reprint from Commander Legends, so it's a lot cheaper than it should be. It costs 2 mana, it lets you have no max hand size, and you can tap it for 1 colorless. Any deck that's going to have you drawing a lot of cards, you're going to want this in it. And it's a mana rock in addition to that. And last for our mana rocks, we have Darksteel Ingot for 3 colorless. It's an artifact that's indestructible, which is really nice, and we can tap it to add 1 mana of any color. So this also can go in any other deck, and it's less than $1. It gives us 1 mana of any color, and if they happen to do some kind of board wipe, they cannot destroy Darksteel Ingot, so we're always going to have that 1 mana available. I think this is a great card and extremely underrated for what it can do and that it has indestructible. Moving on to the removal, I have to talk about Path to Exile and why it's the best removal spell. For 1 white, we can exile target creature. There's no restriction of, oh, it has to be power 4 or greater, power less than whatever. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle their library. Now, it may seem bad initially giving your opponent a land, but would you rather them gain 12 life off an Eldrazi you just exiled? Path to Exile is a great card. It used to be a $10 card, and I remember trading for that, but now it's a $2 removal spell, and you should really pick this one up. Beast Within for 2 and a green, it's an instant. Destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. Why this is so good is because it's target permanent. This can be a land if we really wanted to. An artifact, enchantment, whatever permanent's on their battlefield, and they get a 3/3 green beast creature token. We could target that 12/12 Eldrazi that we just mentioned earlier that we could exile. Well, now we can destroy it and give them a 3/3 beast, which is really great. Counterspell for blue. It's an instant counter target spell. This has been about the $1, $2 range, but right now it's about 50 cents, which is a great removal spell, especially for blue. If you play blue, this is a great card to have in it. It's the classic counter spell. It can counter any spell. It's not restricted to non-creature or creature only. This is one to pick up especially. Last for the removal, we have Chaos Warp for 2 and a red. It's an instant. The owner of target permanent shuffles it into their library, then reveals the top card of their library. If it's a permanent, they put it on the battlefield. So this is another tricky thing we can do, especially for red. We're not dealing damage. We're actually taking care of this permanent, and they could get something better, but they also could get a land. And this is really a great card for red to have because it really struggles, in my opinion, on removal because you see a lot of things like Lightning Bolt. You're going to deal it 3 damage. Well, with Chaos Warp, it's going to take care of target permanent. It doesn't matter if it's an enchantment, artifact, whatever. Permanent is what matters. On to the board wipes. We have Blasphemous Act for 8 in red. It's a sorcery. This spell costs 1 less for each creature on the battlefield. Blasphemous Act deals 13 damage to each creature. If there are 8 creatures on the battlefield, we can pay 1 red for this board wipe, and that is insane and so much fun to do. 13 damage is going to take care of a lot of creatures. Of course, there's going to be some exceptions if their commander's, over 13 toughness or whatever creature. This card has recently taken a really big dive in price, and I would really recommend you pick this one up. Austere Command, also another card that took a really big dive. It's about $1 right now. For 4 white, it's a sorcery. Choose 2. Destroy all artifacts, enchantments, creatures with converted mana cost 3 or less, and converted mana cost 4 or greater. So it gives you a lot of versatility, which is really nice, and we can choose 2 of them. So if our opponents have some really insane enchantment deck, we're going to take care of that and all their huge creatures because we're going to destroy CMC 4 or greater. Of course, this can always hit us, but we got to think about, is this going to win us the game if we take a little bit of the hit as well? In Garruk's Wake, another great board wipe for 7 black. It's a sorcery. Destroy all creatures you don't control and planeswalkers you don't control. 9 mana is a lot for a board wipe, I understand that, but this doesn't target us at all. This is really going to put us ahead in the game, and I'm really glad it targets planeswalkers as well. So if you're playing black, this is a great board wipe for you to include. Last of the board wipes, we have Gaze of Granite for X, black, green. It's a sorcery. Destroy each non-land permanent with converted mana cost X or less. If we pay 0 for X, we destroy all token creatures. This would be really helpful because if they have a million 1/1 soldiers, well, now they have 0. Or if they have some crazy creatures that are about 1 or 2 CMC, we can take care of that by just paying 2 for the X. This is a great board wipe to have. Our last category is card draw, so let's talk about Garruk's Uprising. This is a recent card that came out. For 2 and a green, it's an enchantment. When Garruk's Uprising enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Nice. Creatures you control have trample. Even better. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Why this is such a great enchantment is because there are enchantments now that only give you card draw when a creature enters your battlefield. With power 4 or greater, this gives you 2 more things it can do, and giving your creatures trample in green is really, really nice. It's going to get us that extra damage to deal our opponents, and all this card draw we're getting is going to be really helpful. Whirlwind of Thought for 1 blue, red, and white. It's an enchantment. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, draw a card. You're going to be casting a lot of non-creature spells in Jeskai, which is blue, red, and white. This is more of an instant sorcery artifact deck, or even enchantments if you wanted it to be. Just literally non-creature spells. If you love card draw, you play Jeskai, this is the card for you. Teferi's Ageless Insight for 2 blue, it's a legendary enchantment. If you would draw a card except the first one, you draw in each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. So after our draw step, we're going to be drawing 2 cards if we were to draw 1 card, which is really nice if we play a draw spell like Opt. It lets us scry 1 and we draw a card. Well, now it's going to let us scry 1 and draw 2 cards for 1 blue mana. This is a great enchantment to have. Now, it does have the legendary attached to it, so if our opponents have a removal spell that says remove target legendary permanent, this would be able to target it. Or this can also go in a deck that loves legendary permanents, so we can get cards off of that as well. Reconnaissance Mission, such an underrated card. It's like Bident of Thassa, but the budget version. For 2 blue, it's an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card, or we can cycle it for 2 colorless if we'd rather just draw a card off of this card. We won't be able to keep the enchantment, but we do get that card draw if we really need it. If you're interested in purchasing any of these cards, everything I mentioned in this video will be in the description below. Be sure to hit that like button, comment your favorite card, and subscribe for more Mango content. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.